Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar, Tapping into the Talent Pool. I am Laura Moritz, the Director of Implementation with Flentis, and I'm here with our CIO, Greg Badig, our Head of Sales, Eric Coppin, and our guest, Kevin Pohl, who is the SVP of Strategy and Business Development for WorkLlama. So today we're going to have a discussion about contingent worker pipelines, talent pools, and direct sourcing. We're also going to have a live Q&A session at the end. So if you have questions that are coming up throughout the discussion, please just enter those in the chat and we'll get to those at the end. So to kick things off, I just want to pass it over to Eric to give a quick intro of himself and Flentis.
Thanks a lot, Laura. Hopefully you guys can hear me well. And this is live and direct. A lot of times you get these that are pre-recorded, but hey, if we screw up, then just laugh with us, okay? So, hey, Eric Coppin, been in the space a long time. Really happy to be here with Flentis. Great organization. Happy to tell you a little bit about it because I know we're kind of the new kids on the block and as a VMS provider. No Wahlbergs here, though. Our next gen approach really encompasses kind of a plug and play strategy that allows program owners to configure this and integrate to their own environments. We built this to be the hub or system of record for all things external workforce, and we want to provide clients with the smallest of spend up to the largest with great solutions. Ease of implementation, ease of use, be able to access all kinds of peripheral services. This is really our mantra, which is why we say a VMS for everyone. In terms of what we do, that's kind of interesting. Healthcare flow pool management, in-app talent pooling. We do 133 different languages, highest grade security and compliance. We support light industrial healthcare. We do all kinds of great things. And honestly, it sets up easy and integrates into pretty much anything under the sun. So a little bit about Flentis. Look forward to talking more about float pools, and I'll hand it back over to Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Kevin Pohl with WorkLlama. Thanks, Eric. Happy to be here today. For those of you who don't know WorkLlama, we are an AI-driven applicant tracking system, candidate relationship management, and direct sourcing platform all in one. And how we do that is really leveraging technology to the fullest with our Sophie, our AI-driven chatbot that engages with talent like they've never been engaged with before. Our talent marketing engine, that's really a new approach to the market, and it's focused all on the candidate, attracting them to join talent communities on behalf of the customer, and really engaging and nurturing candidates like they've never been engaged with before, especially in the contingent workforce space. So we're digging into a lot of that today and happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. So to kind of just kick things off a bit, I want to start our conversation just by giving our audience a basic understanding of what we're going to be talking about here when we say talent pool or contingent workforce pipeline. So Kevin, do you want to take that one and just kind of give an explanation of what that means exactly?
Yeah, direct sourcing really is all about leveraging a customer's brand to attract and engage candidates and invite them to join a talent community that's fully branded to the customer. So direct sourcing is just that. It's going out in the market, searching for candidates with the right skills and the right locations to support a company's hiring needs. So you can build this really engaged talent community. And that way they are there and ready to go when a company has a hiring need. So it's really a unique solution in the marketplace, and our customers are seeing great value from doing just that, is building this talent community, engaged candidates, and ready to work when you need them.
Perfect. And Eric, is there anything that you wanted to add on to Kevin's description there?
Yeah, well, I would just add that, in a contingent workforce program, the candidates can come from many places, right? It can come from the client, come from vendors, come from your direct sourcing platform. In a war on talent, everybody's looking for a better mousetrap. Bottom line is, whatever we can do to identify, vet, and engage constantly with these candidates is ahead of the requisitioning process is what's going to really set you up for success. And the word vetting has really evolved, right, over time. What does that mean? Does it mean, hey, how's it going? Are you available? Or is it, hey, let's get your background through, let's get some skills assessments done? Vetting has changed and it's become more proactive and more robust. So I think that's one thing I wanted to add.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, Laura. I just want to say one thing that came to mind, especially with Eric talking about being proactive, right? Because in this industry, it's always been this reactive approach to candidates. A company needs to hire somebody. They create a job requisition within the VMS. The staffing suppliers then will go out and search for candidates and find somebody, hopefully within a short amount of time. But that's kind of the old way of doing things, and we got to look to the future of work, right? It's about proactive engagement, and that's what direct sourcing really is all about: is proactively building this talent community with the right skills to support the hiring needs. So rather than waiting for candidates through a traditional agency, you've already got them there. They're ready to go in your talent community. They're nurtured, they're engaged, they're pre-vetted, as Eric mentioned. That's a really important concept too, is validating skills ahead of time so you know that the quality of the candidate's spot on.
Absolutely. No, that's a great addition to that. And I kind of want to build on that a bit. You both have a lot of experience in the staffing industry, just in general, as well as in the direct sourcing space. So I want to start with Eric and then I'll go to you, Kevin. But what are some of the things that you've learned about talent pools or pipelines specifically that have just really stuck with you as you're transitioning into different roles within the space?
Well, I think talent pool means a lot to a lot of people. It means different things, right? And vetting is certainly subjective, as we touched on earlier, and that can be problematic. If you're not vetting candidates correctly, certainly not drilling down on specific experiences or technical aptitudes, you're not doing yourself any good, right? So vetting is very, very important. And there's also time sensitivity around engagement. So, I mean, you look at your typical direct sourcing platform. One of the big selling points is engagement, right? Not only are you bringing people in, but you're constantly touching them. Where are you now? What do you want to do? Available? Are you not? Do you know somebody? Right? So there's a lot of things that's really involved in the talent pool today that wasn't yesterday. So when I say yesterday, 5 years ago, your talent pool was your vendor's talent pool, right? Or maybe you had some kind of iteration of an internal staffing organization. But there needs to be consistent touch with candidates, right? You've got to continuously reach out to them, because if you're not, you just have a pool of people, just sitting there. And when that ages, it doesn't do you any good. And I did talk about referrals, right? So referral management is tremendous. And, Kevin and I had worked together with a big talent pooling direct sourcing solution before we landed in our current spots. And we used to talk all the time about how do we build our referral program? How do we incent people to, tell their friends? And are they active contractors? Are they just prospective contractors? Do these people want to work at that specific company, or are they just passionate about what they do? So the incentive of referral is very, very important, because what I found in the years that I've been doing talent pooling and direct sourcing, it's been a couple years, is that referrals are the best. I mean, there's no better way to get great talent than referring someone. And I mean, I think about all the people I've hired in my lifetime. Referrals, number one, and they'll always be number one. So talent pooling and direct sourcing, whatever iteration of that solution you have a great referral program in place, because that is going to be one of the biggest landmarks and foundations of your success. Finally, and I don't want to take up too much time, but talent ownership is very important. And when I say ownership, I'm really talking about the data. So at the end of the day, the client should own the talent pool, right? It's their talent pool. So any client that is involved in direct sourcing, and I will tell you, when we've set up talent pools in the past, it's important to make sure you have clear definitions of who owns what, because if you do, kind of disembark from the direct sourcing solution, you have to make sure that there's clear delineation of who owns the data. So I'll stop there and let Kevin kind of add whatever he wants to add.
Yeah, Eric mentioned we've worked together for many years, especially in the direct sourcing and talent pool space. But it's interesting, right? Because talent pools, the concept really came out about 5-7 years ago with these new entrances into the marketplace. And they've evolved over the years, especially from a technology perspective. And the importance of talent pools and direct sourcing for customers, there's really 3 key areas that we have seen rise to the top of importance, and things that customers recognize. And first and foremost, it's cost savings. Traditionally, we relied always on staffing suppliers to provide talent. And now with this direct sourcing and talent pooling capability, right, you can tap into that talent directly. So cost savings in the area of 20% typically. But also, and I think most important, especially nowadays with what we're hearing from our customers, it's less important about cost savings, but more importantly about getting qualified talent quickly. So we've seen the importance of time to fill being most important to customers. The telephone's ringing.
That was me. That was mine.
So cost savings huge, time to fill reductions typically around 60 to 70%, which is awesome. And also quality of talent, because again, going back to Eric's comments earlier about pre-vetting, we can pre-qualify candidates ahead of time, again, to that proactive approach rather than reactive. So we do that up front. That way you get qualified talent quickly and you save a bunch of money. So those are traditionally the top 3 elements of value to a customer.
Perfect.
Absolutely. It just add a little bit onto that. What we've certainly seen out of the pandemic, talent supply chain is stressed. I mean, it's really stressed. You look at some of the industries like healthcare, manufacturing, supply chain logistics. People are dying for people, and it's even with the economic headwinds that we face as a country, and even as a global economy, people need people. And again, we use the term mousetrap a lot, but everybody's looking for a better mousetrap, and no better way than to I think employ some type of direct sourcing talent pooling solution into your ecosystem that is being proactive, because you don't know, there's ups and downs and requirements, and companies utilize contingent workforce to supplement their direct workforce based on project spikes, right? So having that in place and then continuing the outreach, excuse me, is super important. It's going to give you a leg up in your overall talent acquisition strategy.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of good things that you guys just mentioned there. I do want to transition a bit. And one of the things that you mentioned, Kevin, is cost savings, which I think is huge, and a direct benefit to the client that they can see fairly quickly. So are there any other direct benefits of using a direct sourcing platform that the end client will notice those results and those impacts immediately that you can talk about?
I think most important is that you have this VMS, platform, modern age VMS platform, fully integrated with a direct sourcing solution. That way it's very seamless, and technically to a customer, they never notice the platforms working together. It all happens in the background, right? So for them, it's no impact except the value that they achieve. And that's really the most important thing to think about, is a value driven through platforms working in tandem. And I've built most of my career, built partner ecosystems of technology solutions that are fully integrated. So that's really important, especially I know Greg is shaking his head. Yes, we have to be fully integrated as a tech leader. So I'm very passionate about that fully integrated experience. So there's no impact to a consumer, the end customer, or the candidate themselves, right? It needs to be very seamless. And that way, with the seamless integrations, things work hand in hand. They work much faster. That way, you do get the candidates faster because it's fully integrated. Again, through the proactive approach of the talent pooling platform, pre-vetting candidates, right skilled where you need them to be, is critical. And again, that goes back to the integration. So with the VMS in place, historical information about where you hire candidates, what skill sets do you typically hire, and that way that data can be leveraged within the direct sourcing platform to build out this talent pool with the right skilled talent, with the right locations, and so you can hire them as soon as you need them. So I think that's something that's super important when we think about technologies and how we work together.
Absolutely. And Eric, is there anything that you wanted to add into that as well?
Well, I think, God, there's so many benefits, but I think client branding is just super, super important in talent pooling. If you think about what really direct sourcing is, it's contingent RPO. I mean, I think we call a lot of things a lot of different names, and the staffing industry loves, new terminology. I hear new terminology every CWS show I go to, so I'm constantly learning, right? But I think if you really take a understand what direct sourcing is, it is contingent RPO with a really dynamic, robust technology solution, right? And that technology does a lot of things for you that just typical recruitment doesn't, and it gives organizations like this consistent messaging out to the talent marketplace, right? That, hey, this is our brand, this is who we are, this is why you should come work for us, and this is an opportunity for you to better your career, but also make our organization better, right? So I know we'll talk a little bit more about curation and the whole aspect of direct sourcing outside of the technology, but I think if we really take a look up at what direct sourcing and talent pooling is, right? It's truly is the RPO approach for contingent labor. There's a lot of benefits, but certainly, there's a lot of myths too, a lot of pitfalls, things that clients and MSPs need to be aware of when they utilize this type of solution in their contingent programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those that some companies might be hesitant around is the branding piece of that, right? And so I just want to dig in a little bit further there with you, Eric. Can you kind of talk through some of those myths and how you would address those fears that some might have?
Sure. So brand utilization, it's the direct sourcing. If you don't get the brand, you're not going to have a brand. I mean, and certainly Kevin has seen this as we've been in the industry and trying to sell and implement these types of programs. You can't get the brand, you don't have a direct sourcing solution. Bottom line, you're done. So you need to get ahead of that in the beginning, and you need to be talking with the client about that. And about that, it's not a big deal. I mean, RPOs are already using your brand when they do direct hire. There's no difference in contingent labor, and there's things you can do to make sure that it's understand that these aren't direct roles maybe with your client. So you can quash a lot of the concerns very, very easily. But that's important. You've got to have the brand, and you've got to have those discussions early in the process of moving to a direct sourcing and talent pooling solution. Also, retention of data. I did touch on that earlier. Make sure you've got a good plan around retaining data in case you do move on from your provider to another provider. That's another important thing. I think one of the big myths is that, hey, my direct sourcing application does it all, right? I've got WorkLlama or anybody else, and it's we're all set. Well, that's not true, because your technology has to be there and it has to support everything you need. But what's your curation service? What is curation? Explain curation to me. I think curation is an awful terminology for what the service part of direct sourcing is. Not just looking at a candidate and saying, yep, that's good, and sending it on their way. Your curation team is actually a dedicated recruitment team that has strategy, that has technology utilization, that has candidate engagement process. They own everything behind the technology. So curation is just not something that we can flippantly talk about and think that, hey, I got a direct sourcing solution, I'm good to go, the world is fixed. No, because I've seen direct sourcing programs fail because you do not have a great service component behind the technology. So that's something that is very, very important, that clients, I think, should be digging into deeper, is who is your curation and EOR service, and how good are they by jurisdiction, by job type, right? Can they really support those solutions, and what have they done in the past to provide success in your space, in your areas of concern? So curation is extremely important. I think you have to think of direct sourcing kind of like a super supplier, right? It's a part of your ecosystem. It's EMS, but there's still that dotted line to the client. So they also need a lot of client information and discussion, because there's like an RPO. You need to understand some of the idiosyncrasies around your hiring process, around your clients' branding and culture and strategy, right? So because you're proactive, you have to understand all these things before you launch, and you have to get ahead of those peaks when they do come. So that's another piece. It doesn't just sit under the MSP. There is direct line of communication to the client, and that's extremely necessary. You have to have it. And I think the final thing I want to touch on, and I'm sure Kevin has many things to add, or maybe not, but I think tier zero. There's a major fear about tier zero, which is really kind of like that first right of refusal. If you don't have tier zero, or you're not working towards a pathway to tier zero in your direct sourcing solution, you're not going to reap the benefits, because your direct sourcing solution is going to give you a lot of cost savings opportunities. So as time goes on, your talent pool gets bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're grabbing candidates. You're getting them from the client, silver medalists, interns, alumni. You're maybe getting them in from vendors. You're self-sourcing yourself as a direct sourcing solution. So you want to get those fills because you get the cost savings, but you're also providing the discounts on tenure. So if these guys complete a contract, they come back, they usually get them at a discounted rate. And of course, you want your direct sourcing solution to provide you that fill first, because usually these guys are already vetted, right? They're already vetted, they're ready to go. They've been engaged. So you'd be wasting your time and your direct sourcing solution provider's time if you don't have a pathway to tier zero. Because remember, that curation team is dedicated to you. That team is your curation team, and if they are not getting the fills, they are not getting the requirements in a timely fashion, then there's going to come a point where their ROI is going to be depleted, and they're not going to be able to stay on board. So these are all things you have to keep in mind when you're adopting a direct sourcing solution. It's not simple 1, 2, 3, but when you do all things effectively, it can be unbelievably beneficial. So Kevin, I'll let you certainly add anything to that.
Clearly, we could go on all day about direct sourcing and the value and things to look out for. So a couple of things that I just want to add. There's several important components of direct sourcing. There is, of course, the usage of brand. It is a direct sourcing technology solution that can support the organization. And then, of course, there's a services provider that does services and ensures that your talent pool is up to date with the right skilled talent. They're leveraging the WorkLlama platform and the talent marketing engine that goes out and engages with candidates and is requesting referrals, leveraging the referral engine within the platform. So they're operating the technology on behalf of the customer. So those are the critical components. And I hear a lot of concerns from customers when I talk to them. I've talked for years about direct sourcing and talent pooling, but things that often come up, most important top of mind is, oh my God, you have to use my brand? Yes, as Eric mentioned, brand is so critical. You have a great brand that you're using to attract full-time talent. Why aren't you doing that for your contingent labor as well? So leverage your brand, attract talent, and then the other thing that we hear most often is, oh my gosh, another technology solution that I have to deal with. I can't deal with this right now. We make it super easy, right? We do the heavy lifting. We implement the platform on your behalf. You simply provide us brand approval. You provide us with, as mentioned by Eric, a seed population of candidates, alumni, former workers, former contractors that we can populate into the talent community and engage with them. And at minimum, activate the referral engine day one and have them start referring their network into your talent community. So we make it super easy. If you also have to think about who the curation provider should be, we make it easy on that front too. We have pre-vetted partners that know our platform inside and out. And when we bring them forward and let them introduce themselves, and you pick the right provider for you. So we make it easy and fast.
Wonderful. All right. So just one final question for you guys. Before we do that, actually, just a quick reminder that if anyone has questions for the live Q&A, please go ahead and input those in the chats after this question. We'll get into those as well. But final question for you all. If you each had just one suggestion that you would give to the talent leaders out there, what would that be? And Greg, I want to start with you on this one.
Sure. My suggestion would be to concentrate on something that is simple. We all like technology but hate it at the same time. Why? Because it's difficult. Because it's difficult to understand, and we look for the simplest solution for our people and our organization. What we're talking about here is a very simple integration between two companies that can benefit you and your people, your company, with a very, very minimal effort from your side. Having said all that, obviously, we will need certain components from you, but that's nevertheless something that we talk about later. My biggest passion, apart from this conversation, is technology. That comes with the title. Ensure that whatever you're implementing, that we are obviously talking about, can benefit your business, because a lot of people sell things and they show you something that you don't even want, and your company cannot even adapt to it, or you have different needs from a technology point of view. So my suggestion would be to obviously bring in someone that is transparent on the technology side, because at the end of the day, all of this is running technology, and without it, we can't do anything. So that's my 2 cents to all of you.
Perfect. And Kevin, we'll go to you next.
All right. Well, one, I love what Greg said. It's easy, right? With the right technology providers in place. The other thing, I think, you got a great brand, leverage it. Even if you don't have a great brand, let's work together and come up with a great value proposition to attract candidates. So we'll work with you on that, and leverage the talent that you know to start. You've got population of alumni, retirees, silver medalists, former contractors. Leverage them and activate referrals and get them referring their network into your talent community. And as Eric mentioned, it's the #1 source of talent for full-time hiring forever. Let's bring that into your contingent workforce program.
Perfect. And Eric, I will let you wrap it up with your suggestion.
Okay, I hope my audio isn't too delayed. Am I coming across slow?
You're pretty good right now. You're pretty good.
Okay. I apologize. It's my internet's been a little bit wanky today. So I would say identify your usual suspect requisitions, things that you hire a lot of. Right. That's one. Two, identify your difficult locations. What are your challenges? Are you having a lot of challenges in certain areas, whether it be job type or jurisdiction? That's going to be extremely important. Finally, I think you should really work really closely with your provider to establish KPIs, right? Good KPIs that make sense. And I think to do so, you might want to think about them on a quarterly basis and think RPO or master vendor, in terms of, speed to submit, right? Quality of candidate, fill ratio, attrition. These are things that are really going to highlight the performance of your solution. And it should be a living document, right? A living being. It's going to be different 30 days out from 90 days out to 6 months out. So, have a good collaborative discussion with your provider and make sure that you're also aware who your curation team is and be very engaged with them. That's extremely important because, again, think contingent RPO and you will not go wrong.
Perfect. Thank you, all three of you, for those answers. And just before we jump into the questions part of this, I want to just talk through a workflow really quickly. I know we've been talking a lot about integrations, and Kevin mentioned how it really can just plug in seamlessly. If you're using WorkLlama, for example, plug in seamlessly to a VMS like Flentis, to where you really don't even need to know it's there or change anything about your process, and WorkLlama can do a lot of that that heavy lifting from the back end of things. So just to kind of walk you through this, the first part of it really remains the same. Whoever's creating that requisition is entering it into Flentis Pro. We're distributing that requisition to all of the suppliers, and WorkLlama would be included in that, where we would have an integration and the requisition information would go in directly into the WorkLlama system. And so I'll let Kevin kind of explain what happens from that point.
Absolutely. Thanks, Laura. So yeah, as Laura mentioned, you enter the requisition in Flentis as you always have. And what happens is, as soon as that requisition is created, it automatically flows into the WorkLlama platform. We consume those job details and we immediately match candidates within your talent community. So once those candidates are matched based upon their skills, location, interests, and experience, we notify them via text and email, push notification based upon their communication preferences, and they immediately respond. So they are engaged. But what's also important is we want to reach a broader audience and continually grow that talent community to support your hiring needs. So we also integrate with 1,000+ job boards globally. We activate our referral engines, so candidates are referring their network into the community as well. We are driving candidates back to a SEO optimized career site that's branded to the customer. And we're engaging with candidates as soon as they click on a job I'm interested, they come to the site, and Sophie, the AI-driven chatbot, engages with the candidate and says, "Hey, Laura, I know you're interested in this Java developer role. We'd love to learn more about you. Click here and upload your resume real quickly." So we engage with candidates on a meaningful way that's specific to the job. And then what we do is those candidates are shortlisted within the platform based upon their match. And then those shortlisted candidates seamlessly flow back into Flentis for your review.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Kevin. And as Kevin just described, the rest of the process really will flow through Flentis the way that it would as usual, you receive those candidates and can schedule interviews, make your offers directly in that system. Once that offer is made, the payroll provider would onboard that candidate, and then the onboarding would begin. And onboarding, as usual, would be checked off in Flentis. And then when they start working, timesheet entry, invoicing, all of that would happen through the Flentis system as well. So all of that Kevin described to you, really, you don't need to know about all that hard work that's going on. You're just going to receive a higher quality candidate by going through this process and all of that hard work that's done on the back end.
And Laura, real quickly, just to add to that, I think what's so important, and it's really missing from this workflow because it's kind of hard to show this, but what's important is that engaging with candidates even while they're on assignment, right? So you, as we think about the candidate's progression, right, they're close to the end of their assignment. Our platform is sending them messages. Hey, Laura, thanks so much for working for us. Your assignment's coming due at the end of the couple of weeks. Here are 3 jobs you've been matched to. So we can quickly re-engage those candidates for the next gig with your organization. So again, thinking about that time to fill reduction, that's another way that we can do that. So I think we have to work on our little diagram here, but I just want to throw that out there.
We'll make that adjustment. Perfect. Yeah, so I think that kind of wraps this up. Is there anything that anyone wants to get out there before we dive into the questions? No? All right, let's see what we've got here. And I'll kind of just send these out to you guys, and if you want to take it, you sure can. Can we use talent pooling for light shift-based workers? We're having a challenge filling shifts and wonder if a talent pool may help.
Well, I know Eric and I both have a lot of experience in that front. So I'll go first, especially from with the WorkLlama platform and direct sourcing in general. Our belief is you should be able to pool all categories of talent. Light industrial, nursing populations, warehouse workers, call center, professional, even your full-time and freelancers as well. It's a community of talent to support the overall organization, no matter the skill set. So absolutely, you should be pooling all types of candidates. Certainly with shift-based workers, there's a lot more that goes into it. And that's where the automation really kind of streamlines so much effort with, as an example, notifying candidates ahead of their shift via text. So they're reminded of their shift. And we know when they're on site through geolocation, so they can check in for their shift. But also the importance of understanding you may need 20 workers, and what happens if only 10 show up? So having a backup bench of talent that's pre-vetted already, that as soon as that shift is you realize it's underfilled, that pool of pre-vetted backup candidates are notified immediately so they can come and fill that shift. So long story short, absolutely light industrial shift-based work. Nursing is another very important area that we've seen a lot of focus on too.
Yeah, that's where the need has been a lot. I mean, you think about the strain on the talent supply chain in healthcare and manufacturing, which I alluded to earlier. This is just a great addition to getting ahead of your competition, right? I think it's super important. And from the Flentis side, we started in healthcare. We cut our teeth in healthcare. So nothing like starting in one of the toughest industries that you could staff in. But the technology is built to support that multiple shift, differentials, multiple positions, multiple jurisdictions, and tax requirements. And we essentially took that success and we poured it into the commercial world where industrial and call center have some of the same challenges, right? So being able to handle that kind of requisitioning as well as assignment management, that's going to be really, really, really important. So, no, great answer, Kevin.
Perfect. We'll do one more question. We got one from Elisa. Have you seen buyers of direct sourcing solution achieve wins in the diversity strategies by using this solution? If so, can you elaborate?
Well, I'll go first because I'm so passionate about this. So thank you, Lisa. Yeah, we've seen our customers leverage direct sourcing to improve their diversity and inclusion strategies. First and foremost, D&I focus should be on all categories of workers, not just your full-time employees, but your contingent workers, your freelancers, everything. So leveraging the platform to connect to diversity, talent pooling, and external marketplaces of talent, serving underrepresented communities, super important. And we've seen great strides with customers doing that as well. Giving the ability for candidates when they join your talent community, answer diversity questions, and then anonymizing that data and storing it. And that way you can measure and monitor the diversity of your talent pool. And if it's not where it should be, then activating referrals and activating more pipelines to serve underrepresented communities. So awesome question, and it's so important.
Yep. And to add on that too, I would imagine, Kevin, your organization has partnerships with a number of from a supply chain standpoint, curation, as well as EOR providers that are diverse, right? That could be, members of WeBank or NMSDC, et cetera, et cetera. So it's both from the human side as well as the supply side.
Absolutely.
All right. And just one last question here. How long does it take to integrate WorkLlama into the Flentis environment?
Oh, well, I'll take that one. As you all will be seeing very shortly through a press release, the integrations with WorkLlama and Flentis are already in place. So setting up a direct sourcing solution with the two of us would actually be very, very simple. Again, we're open API infrastructure, which is awesome. And Flentis has found WorkLlama very easy to work with, but we've already predefined those integration points, and we're ready to go at any client opportunity. So great question, but the answer is very quickly.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. If there were any that I missed on here, I apologize. We'll reach out to you directly with those answers once we get a chance to review everything. But I want to thank Eric and Greg from my team for joining here, and a special thanks to Kevin for joining us from WorkLlama. We really appreciate you being here, and for all of you sharing your wealth of knowledge on this subject with us. So I appreciate it. If you have any questions for us that come up after this, please don't hesitate to reach out. Find us on LinkedIn, send us emails, whatever you got to do. We are here to provide answers for you.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.